All right, let's bring in a member of the Armed Services, Foreign Relations, and Budget Committees, Democratic Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. Senator, always good to see you. Good to have you back on the show.
Thanks.
Let me ask you, it looked like last night we saw a continuation of some of your Republican colleagues in the Senate peeling off from President Trump. I'm talking about Lisa Murkowski and Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia, both Republicans who have said this shutdown is useless. We can have a conversation about border security, but let's open the rest of the government while we do it. Do you get the sense that you may have the votes, if Mitch McConnell will bring it to a vote, to end this shutdown?
Willie, if this was put up for a vote on the floor today, overwhelmingly the Republicans would vote to reopen government.
So why hasn't it been brought up, Senator?
Mitch McConnell doesn't want to buck the president. More Republicans need to put pressure on him to do it. But I made a speech on the floor last night, and they said, look, the Article I branch is not supposed to play Mother May I with the Article II branch. Our Republican colleagues joined us just 3 weeks ago to pass these same bills to fund government through the end of the year and fund the Homeland Security function through early February so we can negotiate about a deal. What the president is doing is manufacturing a crisis and punishing all kinds of unaffected people out of a petulant desire to get his way. And I do think Republicans are starting to peel away from this. This Friday, 800,000 folks, it's payday. People are going to start missing paychecks right after Christmas, when Christmas bills come due, when heating bills are high, when families are trying to stroke a check for spring tuition for their kids in college. I think you're going to see more Republicans peeling away.
So let me take it to Kasie Hunt, and then Kasie, you can take the same question if you want to the senator. But what's going to break Mitch McConnell, and why is this so difficult?
Well, it's so difficult because, you know, the president has essentially drawn a line in the sand in a way that makes all the normal rules of how these situations typically unfold just absolutely go out the window. I mean, normally we see political pain applied to one side or the other. You can kind of figure out where the end of the tunnel is anyway, and, you know, how fast you get to that light just simply depends on the political conditions around you. But as the senator was just pointing out, I mean, everyone is so dug in here, and I guess, Senator Kaine, that's my question to you. I mean, at what point, you know, you are somebody who represents a state that has very many of these federal workers. You know, the impact in Virginia is very significant. I mean, at some point, does somebody have to stand up and be the bigger person here? I mean, if the president's not going to give in, is there, at some point, do Democrats have to do something to end this?
Well, look, Kasie, Democrats are very willing to act. I was part of a group of 16 senators, you know this, last February. We went to the president with an immigration deal that was $25 billion in border security, done right, not done wrong, over 10 years, in exchange for protecting dreamers. 8 Democrats, 8 Republicans. We had every reason to believe the president would accept it. And guess what he did? He didn't just say no. He didn't put a counteroffer on the table. He blew up the whole thing and name-called everybody who had been involved in the deal. Democrats are willing to invest sizable money in border security, but our message is first reopen government. Don't punish farmers who need ag loans. Don't punish small businesses who need business loans. You reopen the rest of government, and we've already demonstrated by offers we've put on the table that we will invest tens of billions of dollars in border security, but we're not going to let you punish people. It's unpatriotic behavior that's beneath the oath of office.
Senator Kaine, last night, predictably, the president relied on the fear factor about the border. He's often used that to some effect. But part of the effect sits out there doing fairly well with a certain percentage of people because they feel, rightly or wrongly, that the Democratic Party, Democrats specifically, are soft on border control.
Right.
That you want to allow people in. He uses the open borders thing all the time. So what is the strength position of the Democratic Party, or your position specifically, to seal off the border?
Mike, President Trump repeats that lie every time he talks. It was Democrats and Republicans in the Senate in 2013 that put together a comprehensive immigration reform bill, and it had $40+ billion of border security in it, and we all voted for it. In February, we got 46 of 49 Democrats to vote for a compromise offer to the president that included $25 billion of border security. But I was listening to the show before I got on. You guys are right. We just want to do it right. We've got a problem with drugs coming over the border. You don't fix that with a wall. You improve ports of entry, and you give the post office and UPS and others the ability to interdict fentanyl. The biggest group of undocumented aliens in the country are people who come in on visas and overstay them. You can build a 1,000,000-foot wall, and it won't do anything about that. We got to devote some of our border security money to stopping the visa overstay problem. We just want to spend the money the right way rather than spend it stupidly to back up the president's broken promise that Mexico would build the wall. And so I think Democrats again and again and again have voted for big border security investments, but all we're saying is don't waste taxpayer money. The president now says he wants to declare a national emergency and pull money out of military construction projects. I'm on the Armed Services Committee. I got a kid in the military. If he pulls money out of military construction, those monies are used for fixing up barracks where there's lead in the water supply so our troops would be safer, or fixing facilities overseas so our troop will be safer, or rebuilding military bases in Florida and North Carolina that just got blitzed by hurricanes a couple months ago. What we need to do is spend the money the right way, not waste taxpayer dollars.
Right, invest taxpayer dollars wisely. And that's the exact opposite of what he's doing. He'll actually make the border less safe, and he'll actually allow more drugs to come in because he's not investing it where it needs to be invested. I want to ask you about, oh, go ahead, Senator, I'm sorry.
Well, Joe, allowing more drugs to come in, do you know that one of the agencies that is affected by the shutdown is the Coast Guard? The Coast Guard folks, many of them are not working right now, or they're working and not getting paid. Those are the guys who interdict drugs. The president is shutting down the Coast Guard to say that there's a crisis and we need to do more about border security. How ridiculous is this?
It's backwards. He's got it backwards. Speaking of backwards, every trend for the Republican Party has been going backwards. We certainly saw back into 2015 what happened in Virginia. It was, as always, a sign of things to come in 2016. Now you had an election last night, a special election in SD 33. This is a seat that not so long ago Republicans were very competitive in. In fact, they held it to single digits in 2011. Last night, Republicans lost in that same swing district, what used to be a swing district, by 40 points.
And Joe, this is a district.
It almost suggests, Senator, that the president's approach on trying to scare Americans is not working.
And Joe, not only did the Republicans lose in this district by 40 points, their candidate was somebody who had been elected often to the lower house of the General Assembly. He was not somebody who was unknown. He was very well regarded and still lost by 40 points. What you saw in 2017 in Virginia, massive pickups in our legislature, sweeping statewide offices. What you saw last November, not only did I get reelected, but we flipped 3 House seats with dynamic Democratic women beating Republican incumbents. What you saw last night, Virginia, which was a red state and then a swing state, is demonstrating that the Trump government, by spectacle and soundbite and fury, is not what people want to see. They want to see results.
Yeah. All right. Well, Senator, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for correcting me.
Absolutely, guys.
That was the 2017 election, which told us what was going to happen in 2018. Walter Isaacson. So you heard those numbers from Virginia last night. A competitive district not so long ago, now going Democratic by 40 points. Democrats winning the biggest election since the Watergate off-year elections. It seems to me that the Republican Party is driving their operations straight into the ground. And you're a historian. Aren't we going to look back on this time and just be amazed that there were no Republican leaders that stood up and said, hey, we have got to protect ourselves from this former lifelong Democrat, destroying our party.
You know, I hearken back to the McCarthy era. You have Roy Cohn and all these people who seem to resemble the Roger Stones around Donald Trump. And Albert Einstein, when he saw what was happening with the McCarthy red baiting and fighting, tearing up people's loyalty, sort of things, or tearing up people's ability to work, like J. Robert Oppenheimer, he said that America, he had seen it happen before, that, you know, he had seen Germany, he had seen the communists come, and now he was seeing it happen in his adopted land. But a few years later, as you said, Republicans stood up. Dwight Eisenhower stood up to Joe McCarthy, the senator. And when that happened, Einstein wrote his son, said, you know, America has a gyroscope. Just when you think it's going to tip over, it rights itself. That's what we're seeing in the electoral process. That's what Senator Kaine was just talking about happening in Virginia. And I think that's one of the great things. We're kind of holding our breath. I guess it would be nice to have it happen sooner rather than later. But
yes,
this would be a nice thing. America once again showing how it can right itself by using the electoral and democratic process.
And Mika, these days it happens time and time again. We've talked about this so much, how it seems to happen every 2 years. You would hope at some point we would start electing leaders that understand if they want to stay in power more than 2 years, if they're controlling the House or the Senate, or they want to stay in the White House, the way to do that is actually to reach across the aisle and make deals that are in the best interest of the country. Compromise. Don't be so afraid of your own hardcore base, whether that's on the right or on the left, that you can't just walk across the aisle, sit down, have a conversation, and go, hey, let's figure out what's best for the country and get it done.
Well, we're going to have much more with Walter, Casey Hunt, and Doris Kearns Goodwin ahead. Plus, if President Trump were to somehow get his border wall, hundreds of miles of it could run through our next guest's district. Congressman Will Hurd joins the conversation straight ahead. You're watching Morning Joe. We'll be right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.